Hello, everyone. Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us here at We the Locals podcast. My name is Josie.
I'm Jessica.
We have Stu over here.
Hello.
And tonight, our special guest host is Tracy Caruso. Hi, Tracy.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm great.
Good. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
All right, you want a little closer. Yeah.
A little closer.
There we go.
Better here. I'm
You
gonna
can
put
move it.
this way.
Yeah,
Here we go.
perfect.
Better?
Awesome. Yeah, perfect.
Okay, good.
And special shout out to Abby. She couldn't be with us tonight. She had a schedule conflict. So we miss you, Abby. We are sorry that you were not with us, but we look forward to seeing you again soon. And we, again, like I said, thank you everyone for joining us. If you are watching us on YouTube or Rumble, please give us a like and a subscribe. Share the show with your friends. Maybe drop it in your social medias or out to your precinct. Whoever you think might want to hear what we all are rambling thoughts tonight that we have. So we are sponsoring ourselves tonight. We have no sponsorships, but if you're interested in sponsoring the show, and specifically if you are a candidate that is running for a state level office down, we do have some special candidate sponsorships. Or if you are a business and you would like to have some advertisement here on our show, please reach out to us through our website. And or if you would just like to throw us a few dollars to keep the pretty purple lights on, you can do that through a Rumble rant or a super chat, right?
That's right. And it does look like we are not live on YouTube right now.
We are not live on YouTube. So
but we are good on Rumble, it looks like.
Yes.
Okay. Well, if you are on Rumble, thank you for joining us. And hopefully we'll get live on YouTube soon. You're going to keep me posted, right?
Yep.
Okay. So, what have we got? So, Tracy, thank you so much, like I said, for joining us today. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Who are you? What do you do? And I don't know.
Why
all
are
those
you
things.
here?
That's the eternal question.
That's the
isn't it?
existential question, right?
Who am I? Oh, my God. I'm Tracy Caruso.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So you guys know I'm married to State Rep Mike Caruso.
Mhm.
Locally, so in real life, what do? I own a commercial real estate firm that specializes in executive office suites.
Okay.
And a lot of them are actually about the size of this room. For
Mhm.
1 to 4 people, it's in Delray Beach, called Delray Beach Executive Suites.
Okay.
And then, but the way that you guys know a little bit about me is from politics.
Mhm.
And one of the main things that I do is I work for Jack Venari at Florida Jolt. Which
Shout
is a
out Florida
conservative
Jolt.
media outlet. Thank you, Jack Venari and Florida Jolt. And I
Tracy's
really
my
love
favorite
doing it.
writer in the Jolt.
My God.
Just going to
That's
say
right. Sorry, Jack.
Sorry, Jack. No hating. Just throw some Rumble rants.
There you go.
How did you get it? Have you
So-
always been in media? How did you get involved with Jack?
So what happened was I have known him for a number of years, and
Mm-hmm.
it's through the political world. I ran for, just like you ran at one
Yes,
time.
we
I
ran at the same
also.
time. That's
Yeah.
right. Oh, such a fun time to
Yeah,
run.
Right.
Gosh.
Very rough, but I ran for mayor in Delray Beach,
Mm-hmm.
and he was one of the connections that I made during that time, and we have a lot in common. We're both from New York, and we had stayed in touch, and we were in contact a lot, and then through Mike's next campaign for state rep, we were in contact then, and one day he said to me, "I really think that you would be a great writer and you would be great for Florida Jolt. Would you consider doing something for us?" So right after his election in 2022, like maybe a week or so later, I started writing for Jack, and I got very into it very quickly.
Yes.
And that first article was in part about your candidate.
I remember that. Yep. That we were like,
Marcy.
yeah, about Marcy and
Remember?
about her win.
Yeah.
I remember. We were
And-
reading it and we were
yeah.
laughing. It was a great
Yeah.
piece.
Yeah, and about some of the stuff. I actually heard one of your podcasts. I was listening to it, and it was the topic of that one was one of the things that you guys have been talking about, which is the idea of people switching parties. How in the county,
Mhm.
you know, it was like you couldn't win if you weren't a Democrat. So people were supposedly pretending to be Democrats, but now you see it the other way around.
Yep.
And that was part of it. That when voters were faced with so that race, for example, with Marcy, should they vote for a person who is a Democrat who says they're a Republican or someone who actually is a Republican? Maybe we'll just go with the Republican.
Real
you
Republican
know?
this time. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was the first article, and what really got me started
And
with
it
it.
got you from there. All right. Very cool. Where in New York
Yeah.
are you from?
I'm from Manhattan.
Where in Manhattan?
Upper East Side,
Okay.
88th and East End.
Okay.
Grew
Yeah,
up
my dad's
there.
from that
Oh,
area.
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, proud Jewish New Yorker. Here I am. Grew up there.
How long
Never
have you
thought
lived in
I'd
Florida?
leave.
Never thought you'd leave?
Never thought I would leave.
What brought you to Florida?
Oh, it's kind of a long, involved thing, but essentially,
High level.
All right. The short version is my parents had both passed away. I was, youngish for that happening, and I kind of wanted a reboot. And I just said, let me try something else. And in Florida, I was sort of associating South Florida as my happy place, because when
It's a happy place.
Yeah, well, my dad, towards the end of his life, it got to a point where I couldn't really leave him for more than a few days at a time. So I would go to Florida a lot. I'd go a bunch of times a year, and I started associating that with, all good things.
Right.
So when it was time, I got kind of used to it, and I was like, I really like this. Let's do this.
Make this permanent?
Yeah.
What year did you move down here?
So that was 2011.
Okay. So you've been here a while.
Yeah, I've been here a while. I can't believe it, but yeah. Yeah.
How did
I
you
still
meet-
think of it like as new, but yeah, it's been a while.
I know. Well, time flies when you're
Yeah.
having fun
Yeah.
and you're living in paradise.
Yeah.
Although it is getting really hot. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Paradise is starting to
Yes.
heat up real quick.
Yeah.
It went from,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, this weather is so nice to, the
Yeah.
ground's real hot now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
starting summer's rolling in real quick. Are we live yet, Jess?
Not on YouTube.
I
Okay.
would just worry about the rumble
Yeah.
for right now.
So,
and not-
All right. That's fine.
I must have made a mistake trying to be Abby today. This again shows how valuable she is to our
Yes.
team.
We
Not
had her
only-
on the phone earlier to help us walk us through some of our setup.
Not only is she smart, intelligent, a Lighthouse Point City Commissioner, she is also our tech guru when it comes to our live streaming.
Yeah.
There
So
you
we
go.
definitely miss her today, and I'm very sorry for our YouTube listeners. We will do our best to upload the video
Yeah.
Once it's
We'll upload
completed.
it.
So
For sure.
yeah,
I
we only
definitely
have
don't know.
one
Deprived.
We only have one viewer that says that it's waiting. So
Okay, so we're not getting a ton of. All right,
you
all right.
know,
It is what
so-
it is. Listen, we'll upload it later. People can listen. They can listen while they're doing dishes tomorrow. That's what I do with my podcast. I listen while I'm
Yeah.
doing dishes, and then if they start veering off in conversations inappropriate for my kids, I'm like,
Yeah, there
off,
you
off,
go.
off, off. So, okay, so back to you, Tracy. So you, how did you meet Rep Caruso?
So this was before he was Rep Caruso,
Mhm.
and he is a forensic accountant.
Okay.
I don't know if you guys know that, but that's what he does.
Yes.
Forensic CPA. And that's all part of the very long, involved story, but I actually needed a forensic CPA.
Okay.
And as strange as this sounds, I had a friend I grew up with who lived here, and she had a roommate. And the roommate was dating a guy who had a roommate who worked for Mike.
It's a small
Yes,
world.
Very convoluted, but that's how I met Mike. I needed a forensic CPA. I was having a serious problem that and I needed help.
Mhm.
And he did it for me. And when so then maybe like 6 months later, we started dating, and then a couple of years later, we got married. But he helped me so much with the problem that I had in such a way that was very sensitive and very, he was the good guy.
Mhm.
So when he did that, when he eventually wanted to run for politics, I was like, absolutely. I'm
Mhm.
like, you'll be great with constituents. I mean, nobody cares the way you do, and you're genuinely a good person, which we can use. We can all use that in politics.
Always use that in politics
and
for sure.
that was kind of the evolution and how.
So what made you decide to want to run?
I
Because
think
that's a leap too, to go
I
from
think,
being like the
yes.
supportive wife and being there
Yeah.
for all the things, and then being like, okay, no, I'm going to step into the light and let the media come at me and do all the
Actually,
things, because they did
yes.
come at you. There were some crazy
Yes.
articles.
Yes,
I just
they
remember
did.
being like,
That was
oh, I'm
kind of
glad
before
everyone's
my
ignoring
time.
me.
Yeah.
Everyone was ignoring
Very
Boca. Nobody was
vicious.
paying attention to Boca because they were
Very
all focused on
vicious.
Del Rey.
Yeah, lucky me.
Lucky you. I remember thinking,
What a time to be alive,
Listen.
Yeah, it was great.
Esther, I just posted on Twitter today that we all have our for such a time as this moment.
Yeah.
And what a
Absolutely.
time we're alive to be alive, for sure.
Yeah.
So, okay, so what got you
So
into that?
basically what happened was I was becoming kind of vocal about certain
Mm-hmm.
things that were going on in Del Rey that I didn't like. And a bunch of people, a lot of people asked me to run. And that's how it happens.
Mm-hmm.
And
That's how it happens.
Mhm.
Like
that's how it happens.
I get asked to run still to this day, and
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't
I've
want
been on
to.
both sides of that conversation now. Like,
Yeah.
people have asked me to run for things, but then
Sure.
I've also been like, hey, why don't you consider
Why don't
running
you
for
consider this? And
Yeah.
you're like, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting though because it gives you, you definitely know this. It gives you the experience. It's very interesting and it teaches you a lot to be on
Teaches you
both
a
sides
lot,
of
yeah.
it, because no matter how many times you help other people running or you do this, you don't know what it's like until you're what it's really like, and it's from that angle
Yeah.
until you do it yourself and you experience a whole difference.
Yeah.
A whole different world.
Oh yeah,
So
having to
it's a
sit
good-
through all of those like media interviews and having to
Yeah.
know like everything that you say can and will be used against you.
Yeah.
Everything they're gonna dig up pictures of you and
Yeah.
splash them in all like the ads. So in my race, I had no money, I had no name recognition, and my opponent decided to pull pictures from Facebook and put them on her attack ads against me, but they had nothing to attack me with because I hadn't done anything in my
Yeah.
life ever, except for
Yeah.
I was opposed to masks and I wanted the playgrounds open during COVID.
Yeah.
That was the only thing they came at me with.
Shame on
I know,
you.
shame. Playgrounds open. Oh. And
Next thing, you're going to want the beaches open,
next
too.
thing, well, you know,
Yeah.
I have a high expectation of life. I would
Yeah.
like to be able to go to the beaches and parks that I pay for.
Yeah, absolutely.
So she pulled these pictures. But I think her campaign manager must have had a crush on me or something because they were great pictures.
Oh,
They
there
were
you
like
go.
the best pictures. I was like, this is a really good picture. I have friends, and I couldn't afford to send that many mailers. And so
Yeah.
my name got in every mailbox in Boca because she was coming at me. But
Yeah.
she used really good pictures. And the only thing that she could come at me with was that I was against masks. And actually, I think it worked a little bit in my favor. I think it got me a bump
Yeah,
in my
there you
votes.
go.
Yeah.
So, you know, you never, until you're in that, until you're in
Yeah.
that position where you open your mailbox and you see a picture of yourself like
Yeah.
within an attack ad, you're like, oh, this is
Yeah.
great. This is a fun situation. So,
So, Tracy, what do you think about Tom Carney winning mayor?
Oh, I'm a big supporter of his, and he's a friend. This was a very interesting election because
Very
obviously I
interesting
know
race.
I know a lot of people. Obviously in Delray, we still do. Mike's lived there for a very long time, so he's always very involved in that community. But yeah, I mean, I was very happy to help Tom Carney, and I'm really glad he won. I think he's going to be really good. I think he's going to be really, really good for that city, and they needed a little shakeup, to say the least.
I well definitely got it.
Yeah.
Oh,
it
yeah.
was him and who else was the upset one?
Tom
Marquette.
Marquette.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you say is it Marquette or Marquette?
Marker.
Marquette.
Oh, so I got
Sound
rolling.
really wrong.
But you know what? It's nobody. He's actually a very nice guy, but nobody freaking knows him. So there's no reason why you would know his name.
Yeah, we keep
Right.
talking about it in my
That's
campaign
true.
with Bill. Bill and I are like, he's like Tom, because we have to differentiate.
Yeah.
Which Tom? Tom Carney or Tom?
Yeah.
He's always like Marquette. I'm like, which
Yeah.
one is it? And I'm like,
Marker.
I don't know.
Marker, a name that nobody's ever heard.
Marker.
Marker.
How did he get elected if nobody really knows him?
Okay, so his case was a very different thing than Tom Carney. Tom Carney, a lot of people think that he won really because of Republican, that he was, but that's not really what happened there. It was very little of what happened. I mean, you guys saw in Boca, you saw about what happened with Brian. It wasn't really a Republican thing. It was really an anti-Ryan Boylston thing.
Okay.
Which that's kind of the way Delray is. I mean, a lot of the vote that I got when I ran, it was because they just hated the other lady.
Honestly, that's what local politics is. Like, if
Yeah.
you don't have something good, that's one reason I didn't run in this
Yeah.
last race against Yvette, even though she was essentially running unopposed, which I hate. I hate it when
Yeah.
people run unopposed. I feel like somebody should always have to earn their spot back.
Sure.
But I was like, she hasn't done anything enough to make people hate her. So
Yeah.
unless people like want to vote against someone in this small arena of local politics, it's really hard to. That's basically what they do is they vote against the person that they don't like.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay. So it was
Yeah.
more of a referendum
So
on
yeah,
him.
it was more of that, but and he really, I mean, there were some people that just really hated him. I mean, people were putting in their own freaking money.
I know Tom had a lot of money.
I mean, but they were doing it themselves. Like they weren't
Yeah.
even like it. They were putting out their own stuff and doing it. I mean, they really did it. Now, in the case of Markert, it was one of those things where it was a 3-person race.
Yep.
And you know what happens in a lot of those races. It's
Splits
just
the votes.
kind of like,
Just kind of whoever ekes it
Yeah.
out in the end
Yeah.
can take it.
Yeah. So that one was almost like luck of the draw for better.
And I
lack
think
of a
he
better
stayed
way.
pretty clean for the most of the race too. So I think it would have been more of against the other two for him as well. So it was like, oh, I'm not voting for those, so I'm gonna vote for this one maybe.
Yeah. His was against, who was he? He was
Trying to remember. I was just about to ask.
And,
Oh, yeah.
and Jim Chard, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they had their own set of things.
Support. Right.
You know, but they also had their own set of things, and he didn't. He
Yeah.
didn't. Nobody knew who he was.
So they had nothing against him. So they were like, I don't
So-
like them. I don't like her. I don't like him. I'll take him.
And at the end, they really did start kind of whacking each other. So then he
He
was
just
last
kinda
man
let 'em-
standing,
right.
like, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll
He
just
was-
hang out
Yeah, he
here.
could have worked in
and-
his favor pretty
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. Listen.
Yeah.
That's going to be interesting to see what happens in Delray over the next couple years with this shakeup. And then I know Boynton, all eyes on Boynton for next cycle.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's already getting crazy.
It's already.
I mean, like, just the rumors. There's just lots of rumors. So I don't think anybody's really doing anything a whole lot yet. But I was at a community meeting in Boynton. They're doing, which Boca, pay attention. You need to be doing this. I loved it. It was awesome. They're doing town hall meetings in their districts. So obviously Boca doesn't have districts, but still could be something they do in like regions or neighborhoods where they had all the city manager, the deputy city manager, all the people, the fire chief, the police chief there, and the commissioner for the district. And this one, they invited Commissioner Woodward because it's her district there too. And just to talk to the constituents, tell them updates that are going on, updates that are happening, specific things to their neighborhood, different, city projects, whatever. And it was just really cool. It was very like, even though I'm obviously not a resident of Boynton, but I was like, dang, I learned a lot. I like, this is cool. And so I really think it's, Delray Boca, pay attention. Like that's how you connect. That's how you reach the people and give them the information the best way. And, why did I start saying that now? I can't remember. Oh, so I'm sitting in this meeting, and so there was a guy there, one of the, not on the city commission, just a resident who was there, and he was like, can I just say something? They kind of opened it up for questions, and he gave this whole pitch about there's somebody running for mayor, and she should never win. I can't remember her name. Never win mayor. She did this, and this, and he just like went after it, and I was like, oh my gosh, we're only in like May. Like that's not till March of next year. We're okay.
Wow.
Buckle up, everyone. Here we
Wow.
go. It's going to get crazy.
Yeah.
So that's going to be, an interesting one to watch.
I heard that they're talking about doing an annexation in Boynton. Was that talked about?
It
at
was
all?
brought up, but they said they're at the very, very, very beginning stages of looking at it. So it's not anything like to discuss. They said that they really like the media. I guess the Palm Beach Post put an article out about it, and they said they kind of really jumped the gun because it's just being like talked about. It's not, and like they're starting to do some studies and some stuff, but there's no like to look into it. But it's not like they're,
It wasn't discussed what areas. Or...
Yes. I have to try to remember. No, they didn't really say the area. They all knew what area they were talking about, and I didn't because I'm not a resident there, so I wasn't. They just said, that area, and they all just talked about like where it was in the process, but they didn't say a specific area.
Okay.
So, I mean, obviously a little bit of West Boynton, but I don't know where.
Yeah, I've had a couple voters kind of ask if I kind of knew anything. So
It's a big popular word right now in Palm Beach County.
I know it's like
Annexation.
everywhere. It was everywhere. Like there's a whole referendum in what was that?
Up north, right?
Yeah,
Palm
Palm
Beach
Beach Gardens.
Gardens. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was Gardens.
But they voted
against it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like all four of them. Like it was like no.
We don't. I mean, like most people, if they are choosing to not live in the city, they don't want to live in the city.
No.
Like there's a reason for it. So I think it's a hard convince to go to people and be like, oh no, you should live in the city. And they're like, well, we didn't want to live in the city. We don't live. If we live in the city, we live in the city.
Especially when the number one consequence is your taxes are
Going
going
to
to
go up.
Yeah.
And your services don't. I mean, like we have some perks of living in the city of Boca, but not necessarily to justify the taxes like that we pay. Especially one of them is the beach and parks. But excuse me, I still have to buy a beach pass, so I pay taxing. We live in a taxing district. So I don't know if you know, Boca has the city millage rate and then the beach and parks millage rate. So the city likes to claim that our millage rate is the lowest millage rate of all the three major cities, which it is technically. But then when you combine it with what we pay to the beach and parks district, it's the same as the other two cities. So it's a fun game they play.
Scam.
Yep, it's a scam, exactly.
Yes.
And then to go to the beach that I pay for already, I still have to buy a beach pass that they've increased $20 over the last 2 years. Percentage-wise, it's
listening to
huge.
this, I'm thinking you should have run a Benson. Especially since, do you know that she's running for state senate? Did you hear that?
I
It's
heard
like a
that.
quick-
Breaking news.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you for bringing
Yeah.
that up. I forgot that. Yes,
Yeah.
Brian texted me that she's running for state senate and for Lori
Yes.
Berman's seat, but
Yeah.
she's announcing so early. I mean,
Yeah.
like that's in so it's not till 2026.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
It's a
she'll
little
still have
nuts.
to resign early. She'll still have to.
What are we in? What did she? We're in 20. No, yeah, she'll have to
Yeah.
resign. She
Yeah.
will have to
She'll
resign.
be short 1 year.
But still, why announce so early? That's all she's going to be focused on.
Yep.
She
Well,
should just
there
res-
goes
No,
Boca.
I don't think it's a great thing for Boca personally.
No.
I mean, it's like if you didn't want it. And you know what? I've listened to her speak at things before, and she said that she didn't like partisan politics.
I've heard her
and
say
you
that.
know, this is why she's local, and
Yep.
she wants to help everyone here. And it's like,
That's why I didn't run against
yeah,
her.
okay.
I didn't. That's one. I mean, like.
Then the second something comes up,
That's going to be interesting, because that's two that's already announced that they're going to
Run for that seat. Oh yeah, the other person is
Rick Roth.
yeah, Rick. No, but there's also she's running. There was someone else as a Democrat.
David Silvers.
David Silvers. That's who it was.
Oh.
Yeah. So because he isn't he a rep now?
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
which district?
It's District 89. It's
Yeah.
what
Okay.
used to, with the redistricting.
Yeah, with the
It's now-
redistricting. Okay.
It's now District 89.
Okay. So. Right, that's the one that.
And he
Oh my
turns out.
gosh, I can see
this-
his face. The
this
kid
will
is
be
running in.
This will be.
Yeah,
Oh,
this is his last.
Zapata. That's
no,
the
he
one.
did.
Zapata's
He did.
running.
Actually, he did term out. I'm sorry. He did term out.
Yeah.
Who
Oh.
did Silvers?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
he's
I thought I
going
saw
to
him
try.
on the
So him
list,
and
though.
Yvette are going to have a primary. So Yvette's going to resign
Yeah.
to run, and she might not even get the seat because she
Yeah.
might not even win the primary.
Yeah.
Oh snap!
Yeah.
Drama.
That's very
Yeah.
interesting.
Uh-huh.
And with all of the transportation things that she's on and everything else, I'm really quite surprised that she's willing to give that up.
Well, and not only that, but just announce this early. I just feel like that's a really, like, I don't know how that's going to affect her ability to govern. Like, I mean, like, and that's a long time
has
to
she-
be
has
in
she-
a campaign cycle.
Has
Yeah.
she come out like officially announced,
Yeah.
or is this
Yes,
just
yes,
been?
No, there was an
I read
article
it.
in the
I read it.
paper.
Oh,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
That's how I knew.
Huh. How did I not know this?
I forgot
Just-
to tell
it
you.
happened like 2 days
That's
ago.
why
guess
we
my
did this.
husband and
This is
him.
what this is. No, thank you for
Yeah,
like this.
yeah,
This is why we did this. Breaking
absolutely.
news, ladies and
Yeah.
gentlemen.
Yeah.
So
That's very interesting.
yeah. So okay, and then Rick Roth's running for that seat too.
He is.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
I could have swore I saw on my thing at home that Silvers was in a seat, but maybe I was.
Yeah, he's
Yeah,
in.
he's
this
termed.
is
he's
his
termed.
last-
This is his last term.
terms out.
Yeah.
This,
So he's basically
No,
done.
but I mean
Yeah.
that he's running
No, well, he's going to run for that seat.
for
but
this
it'll be,
this time, but then it's termed out in 2 years.
No, he's termed. He just did his last one.
Oh,
He did
okay.
it. I saw his
So
senior
what about
speech and the whole thing.
yeah.
So who? So it's an open seat in
It's
89.
an open seat.
in '89. So he's
Yeah.
just going to campaign for the Lori Berman seat for 2 years.
Or just announce it that he is. I don't know if he's actually doing anything
Yeah.
in the meantime. I
Just-
don't know if she is either. She just might be saying
Oh,
it to
yeah,
be
it is.
like, I'm the woman in. And
Well, this is the
I
thing.
don't know. It's what Democrats do. I don't know.
It's true,
I'm-
and that's how they
I'm
fundraise.
The woman who's like.
Oh,
what do I
that's
know?
one. Like that was one reason. Like, yeah, you got to be. Never mind. I'm not gonna say anything. That's exactly the place she's gonna go for
course it
sure.
is.
100%.
Of course it is.
100%.
Yeah,
I'm the
that's
single
interesting.
mom.
The
I'm
one
the
that
divorced
Zapata's
woman.
running in.
And so who's running? Who's the
There's
Democrat
two
in that?
There's two Democrats.
That's right.
Which is,
Deborah Tendrich.
Yep.
I don't know her.
Yep.
You don't.
Deborah Tendrich and
This is going to be a treat. I can't wait to send you things.
Ros-
Oh really? Oh my gosh.
Rosalind
Yes.
Baker Sutton.
Okay. So who? So that's a primary,
Mhm.
and no, there's no one primarying Zapata though, right?
Nope.
Nope.
No.
No.
All right,
Not
so that'll be interesting.
No,
Not
he's
now.
happy. He's
Yes.
happy as can be.
Yeah.
Just not
yeah.
as of right now.
Yeah, which I don't think. I think we're getting to the point where we would know if someone came out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For my own reasons. My own reasons.
And it's like election season now is like for a full 2 years. It seems like
Apparently.
we don't even get a break anymore.
no, if they're
It's too
announcing
much.
this early, this is crazy to me.
It's too much. I mean, I personally think, especially if they're in office and they're running again, like to do that, are you really concentrating on the work?
That's
you're
what I'm
supposed to do? Is it
saying.
really
Yeah.
How
fair
can
to
you
the
be
people you work for?
No,
It's not.
she should resign
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
I think it's bad enough, that it's 2 years because it's like by the time you even get your feet wet,
exhausting.
You're having to run again and put out all of your campaign.
I'm tired as can be.
I could
All the
imagine.
stuff we do with him. It's very tiring.
It's
Oh,
exhausting,
gosh,
and to
it
do
is
it
a
for
lot.
to do it for 2 years constantly. Like I even told, like when Bill filed to run, and he asked me to help him out with his campaign. I was like, I'm telling you right now, because he filed pretty early. Also,
Yes.
I was like, I'm not campaigning this summer. Like I didn't get a summer with my kids the summer before because we were campaigning for Marcy, and I was like, I'm taking the summer off from anything.
for
It's
you.
there's no elections. There's nothing happening this year. Nothing in the fall. I'm taking the summer off and hanging with my kids, and so I came back in like the end of the last year. So I was like, this I can handle. This pace I can handle, because it's like, it's crazy. I don't know how I think people are going to wear themselves out.
They
Right?
do wear themselves
Yeah.
out, and they spend their money if they
So
make
much
it,
money.
They then if somebody else jumps in, they now think that they've had ownership of that thing.
Right?
Right,
And
then they
they're
get
like,
personally insulted,
yeah,
i.e.
they're
the
like,
school
"This
board
is
races.
This is mine. I've been doing it for a year. How dare you?" And it's like,
It's so people are
Yeah.
crazy. We've made
and the
politics.
school board one was what I was thinking of when you said it.
Oh yeah, as soon as you said, it, I was like school board. Which I want to talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
But I feel like they've made politics. It's like a sport now, and so
Yep.
everyone's training and weightlifting and getting ready and talking about their seed pick and different stuff like that and all. And that's basically what we're in now. It's just like constant like sports mode, which for political commentators like this is great,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
for the
But
rest
it's
of the
like-
people, it's
I mean,
exhausting.
voters get exhausted.
Voters are over it. Like
Yeah.
some of the advice that we've gotten for Bill's campaign is like nobody's going to be paying attention to anything until after Labor Day,
Oh yeah.
because
There's no reason for them
No.
to do so. What do they care?
no, there's no,
Yep.
especially with no primary.
Yeah.
I mean, I understand some of the candidates who are running for federal offices who have like 8, or the one up in the open seat, Rick Roth's open seat, where there's like 18 people running there, and they got a primary, and so they have a primary. So you've got to be on that, and the turnaround time from primary to general is pretty quick. So everyone's got to be ready for that. But if you don't have a primary, I mean,
Yeah.
breathe.
Yep.
Yeah.
Relax. Enjoy
Yeah.
the summer. Go to the beach. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, yes, go to the beach.
You have that beach pass. You
We
can
have the
afford
beach
to.
pass. Exactly, the beach pass that I freaking paid so much money for.
Advantage.
Which, by the way, sorry, last thing on the beach pass. If you buy the beach pass in like July or August, it's only good through October.
Yep.
And then- yeah.
It's not prorated.
And it's not prorated. So you pay $85 to get a beach pass in July, and then expires in October. You have to get a new one.
That
Pay
sounds
attention, everyone. Is yet another scam.
It is
That's what I
bogus
was going to say.
scam.
Bogus scams. Listen,
Yeah.
Just like the lights.
We're on to
the
you.
lights are a scam.
Don't
Get
get
me
me
started on the lights.
There you
Because
go.
Boca and Palm Beach are the only municipalities in the county that run their own light system,
Yeah.
and you can tell
Yep.
because their lights are
Yeah,
forever
for traffic.
If-
yeah.
and so unintuitive. It takes me 10 minutes to get out of my neighborhood
And-
sometimes because of
and
the lights.
In the morning, it's
Because I live by the
funny
Diamond Exchange.
Because if I
Got
hit
it.
Spanish River in Dixie before 7 o'clock,
You're fine.
the light is short.
Yeah.
But if you get there after 7 o'clock,
Forget it.
it's like you sit there forever, and it's like there's nobody coming.
Nope.
East and west.
It's ridiculous.
And it's
Okay.
like
It's crazy.
All right, let's talk school board.
School.
Yeah.
board.
School board. Okay,
Ooh,
so
children.
right? The children. All right. So how many candidates do we have in right now?
let me look.
I can tell you.
150. It feels
I
like
think
that.
there's-
My God.
Like
I
it.
believe there is 5.
Okay.
There could be 6.
So let's see.
I
for the
believe
one
it's
here.
there's
Yeah,
Gail.
Mike
Is it
Letsky.
Gail?
Letsky.
Gail.
No, it's Gail.
There's
No,
there-
it
No, Gail.
Gloria.
Suzanne Page.
Gloria. And there's Koch. No.
Who?
Who?
Koch.
Oh, Coke.
Coke.
Oh,
Coke.
yeah. Okay,
Coke.
so you're talking the Democrats.
All of
right?
them,
So you
anybody.
got that-
And
okay.
then the other
Something
one Democrat.
Scaglione.
Yeah.
Something
No, she dropped
Scaglione.
out.
She dropped out?
out. Yep. She
See,
dropped
I can't keep up.
So there's only one Dem now? Just
There's.
Mindy Koch and Carmen Pastel.
Yeah, I
oh
don't-
yes,
Is
that's
she,
right.
I don't know if she's a Republican.
Charmin.
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 I don't know if she's a
Charm-
Republican or a Democrat.
I think
Probably-
that's I think she's a Democrat.
She's a Dem.
She's
And
She's a
then-
Dem.
She went in first, I think, of
Yeah.
those.
Yeah.
And then we've got the
Dem.
3 Republicans. So,
So
Yeah.
Gloria Branch, Mike Letsky, and Suzanne Page.
Yeah.
So we went from having nobody running for school board to everybody running for school
Think
board.
about all the ones that dropped out. Remember when Bob Weinroth?
Yes, Bob dropped out.
Yeah, now he's running
Thank
for
goodness.
Congress. Higher
Because
ambitions.
that's what you do when the school board thing isn't going.
When it's not going so well, when you realize you know nothing about the
So,
school
like,
board.
Now it's going to be like, I'm running for president.
Oh my God.
Like, that's,
Well,
that's gonna
Moskowitz
be-
already said it about he's running for governor.
Moskowitz is
There
running
you
for
go.
governor.
There you go.
He's still running for Congress, but he's running for governor too. He's running both races at the same time.
My God. My God.
He's just trying to get money in his pack.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Moskowitz. He's such a. Okay. We're not talking about
A
federal.
nice man.
He's a nice man. He's a nice smurf. He's a nice smurf.
So what are your thoughts on the school board?
So my personal opinion on school board is we should abolish the school board and abolish public schools. However, which is why
That.
which is why I won't run for school board. I was asked to run for school board by many people because I have small children
can
and
see
I'm
that.
passionate about schools, but I did not go through the public education system. My kids are not in the public education system, and I don't think that the public education system is doing any good services to our communities. And we send a freaking ton of money. So like the budget, do you know the budget for Palm Beach County is $5.5 billion?
Wow.
Almost $6 billion. And we have about, last I checked, 180,000 students in the school district system. So if you do the math, that's about $25,000 per student.
No.
My kids for a private school is $10,500. So what are they?
Getting the money now, right, for the
Yes.
for the school
Most- yeah,
choice
so
and,
most of our
I know it's
tuition
not
is-
going to take care of all of it.
It doesn't take care of all of it, but it covers. Yeah, no, we do,
Yeah.
and absolutely, and we're very, very thankful for that. But the thought process is like if they're spending $25,000 per public school student, or they should be, that's like what it breaks down to, and we're spending $10,500 for a private school education.
The numbers don't add
The
up.
numbers don't make sense.
It just proves that it's all fluff. It's all
Right.
administrative costs. It's all program costs.
And the
And-
schools are short staffed, so they're not paying teachers enough.
No, they're not paying teachers enough. But did you see? There was an article. I can't remember where I saw it, but that Florida is now the 50th state
Oh, we dropped.
in the United States for paying teachers. That
For
it's the
pay-
lowest
Oh my
one.
gosh.
Really?
Yeah,
Yep,
it's
it dropped
bad.
from 48 to 50 like this past year.
It's
That's
bad.
statewide though.
Statewide,
But
yeah.
still.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's
Like
Wow.
county.
Not something we want to be famous
It's
for.
not
folks.
something we
No.
want to be proud of.
No.
No,
Definitely not.
it's not. It's not. It's not good. It's not a good thing. And so it's like a struggle because you're like you need to pay the teachers more, but also don't increase your budget.
Yeah.
But cut the administrative bloat. And it's so I don't know. I think the school board's just I don't know. That's my opinion. It's a
So
hot
you'd
mess.
like to see it just
Yeah.
and that's why you didn't.
And that's why I didn't run because I don't think I could, in good conscience, sit there and like.
You'd vote to get rid of the school.
Yeah,
board.
I'd be like, nope, fired. You're fired. You're fired. You're fired. We're all fired. It's all fired. Just cancel it all when I'm leaving. Like, I'd be like, because I don't think that they look. I know that people need school. Our structure is put into the place. Our economy is set up so two parents need to work in order to function in the Bidenomics. I understand that, but I don't know. I was raised very different than most kids, so I don't see the value in it, in my personal opinion. So I see why people want to go and try to fix it because we need to. Because where the reality is it does take the highest level of property taxes, and it does take all these things, all these resources, and it is educating the future generations of voters and people who are supposedly going to participate in society. Although if you look at the universities, I don't think we should give any thumbs ups to anything that's happening, in these Ivy Leagues. But
Freaking unbelievable what's going on.
it's crazy.
And Broward's even worse. That's it. That's the thing too. Is it's like Broward's even worse. And I think their deputy superintendent just resigned as well.
Really?
I don't know.
Yep.
Abby. Abby's our resident Broward
I'm
expert.
sure Abby will have
Weigh
lots
in
to
on
say
this.
about that next episode.
Well, because
but
in the last episode we were talking about that their superintendent quit, like at the last meeting, like right before that, and then so you're saying their deputy superintendent
yeah,
just
I'm
quit.
pretty sure. I'll look it up
Good
really
grief.
quick. But
Broward is looking at closing anywhere from 5 to 8 schools because they're under enrolling. Yeah, they're not getting the enrollment,
Wow.
which I think is because of the school
The
choice
school
program.
choice.
Yeah, a lot of-
Which was kind of
The whole point to begin with.
right?
Absolutely.
You
Look,
know,
it's
like let them
open.
not be the only game in town.
Listen,
Give
when that
people a
happened,
choice, and then
When that happened, the Palm Beach County school motto for its teachers was, I'm gonna botch the phrase, but it was basically like focus on customer service
yeah,
because to keep parents happy.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have a few friends who are teachers in the Palm Beach County school system, and they were like, this is ridiculous. Like, what do you mean keep parents happy? Like, isn't our job to educate the students? Like, what does that even mean? And, respond to emails immediately and, like, all these, like, different things. And it was because they were worried that parents were going to be like, you know what? We have other choices. Bye. So they had to make a better product. But instead of the better product being better education, they decided to make it a better customer experience.
Interesting.
Yep, sure enough. 3 days ago, Deputy Superintendent retired early.
Interesting. Ooh, all right. We'll have to.
Don't.
Yeah, exactly. Don't we have that one? Don't.
I have this one.
Yeah, that'll be interesting.
That's the one you should play when somebody drops out of the race. Like,
Yeah.
oh no, that person's Scagliano's not in it anymore.
But so we have that's down South County, and then in North County we have.
Well, one thing, too, is the one that's for District 5, Monica Koch. Is it Koch? Is that how it's?
Mindy
Or
Koch.
Mindy Koch.
She was the chair of the DNC.
Yes, that's one thing I wanted to make sure that people knew, that she was the chair of the Democratic Party in Palm Beach County, and she resigned. And it's funny because
she got kicked out, and then they couldn't kick her out, and so she came back, and then she resigned.
Yep. And
Drama.
Wow.
They're imploding.
Yeah. And if
So are we, but
if you check out our
For
chat,
different reasons,
if you check out on our chat on Rumble, somebody posted the article about that, about her being the Democrat chair, and she left the party because it's a cancerous waste.
Does that mean she's becoming a Republican and there's going to be another Republican in the race?
I'm wondering.
For the nonpartisan school board race.
Do you think so? What's your opinion? So they've been talking about, or did it pass? I can't remember. Correct me if I'm wrong. About making them partisan, the school board and the cities. So like everything
I remember
partisan.
they were doing that. I don't know if it went through, but I think it's a very good idea.
You think it should be?
I heard it went through for 2026 for school board, but I
Okay.
don't think it happened for the municipals.
Okay.
What are your
Which
thoughts on that?
I think it should be across the board. Like, make it easier for voters. They don't want to pay attention as it is. At least give them a leg up.
So here,
Make it
here's
a
what
little
I
bit
think.
easier for them to decide.
Absolutely. Well, that's one of the reasons for party to begin with, right? That it's like if you know nothing else, at least you got
you know
something to
yeah.
say. All right, maybe hopefully this person shares some of the same ideas, values, whatever. Right? If you know nothing else, at least you have that. You hope.
Hopefully,
You hope.
in theory.
Yeah, in theory, right? But for school board, I mean, I think it used to be that it really didn't matter, and it was
Right.
like the issues. It just didn't matter, and it was fine. But what we've seen is that it's the most partisan of all of the
things.
And then
It is.
we're seeing what happens. I mean, when I went to I told you I'm from New York.
Yeah.
I went to NYU.
Mm-hmm.
And
Which high school did you go to?
I went to a school called Hersman. I don't know if you know. It's a private school.
Okay.
But yeah, it was very liberal.
Mm-hmm.
It was. And when I think about the things of some of the things that I think about how it's affected me in my life, what I look at, the way I look at religion, it was very deeply affected by the education I had.
At the in elementary, elementary
not
high
as
or in
much
university?
then, but in university it was. But we're seeing now that people are having these things, put into their heads from the time they're very little kids, and that's where they're getting their ideas. I mean, are they affected by their parents? Yes. Are they affected by their peers? Yes. All these things play a role. But they're getting their ideas of who they're being taught by people that they, so even if their parents have a certain idea and their teachers have another idea, they're still getting those ideas in their heads.
Absolutely.
And
I
we're
think
seeing
they're
now what
more
the problem
influenced by
I think it is.
peers and teachers.
Well,
think
if you look
so.
at the amount of time that they spend with, like, especially for parents, if the kids go to, aftercare. So a parent has their kid in the morning for an hour before school, maybe. They're in school from, let's say, 8 to 3, and then they're in aftercare from 3 to 4 to 5 to 6. Then they get picked up from aftercare, and they might do. And then so when are they really spending time with the parents and absorbing their their values and their ideals. They're getting it from the people that they spend the most amount of time with, which is the schools.
Yeah.
And then their peers in the schools. And then it's all, again, this is why.
And then you have the
public
whole
education.
of wanting to be accepted and wanting to be liked. So
Right.
you're, you know, so
Absolutely.
even if it's against what your thought process is, you're like, well, maybe something's wrong with me. Maybe I do need to agree with them. And so it's very difficult, you know, as
That's where the hive mind comes in.
yeah, so it's like, you know, as a parenting coach for a long time, it's like that fundamental aspects of our children is we don't realize how influenced they are by outside sources.
Yeah.
You could have the best childhood, you could be the best parents,
Absolutely.
everything else, but if your child takes a liking or thinks that they will be more accepted by liking a certain teacher or a certain crowd, is that can make a huge difference
Or
in
even
a
if they
child's
just
life.
like that teacher.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that whatever. You
And
know
they
what
look
I
up
mean?
to
Like,
them as
they
a mentor.
trust them.
Yeah.
That's, you know, who's teaching them, and they're just getting the information drilled into them. It's just still there. And I
Yep.
mean, not that you can't have different ideas, because you can, and that is all part of going to school.
But it
and
has to.
whatever,
But they don't do it at an age appropriate way. They do it at a very
They
young
don't.
and impressionable age. So like I look at my kids. My kids are in a small private Christian school.
Mm-hmm.
They're we're one of like a few like mixed Jewish families in the school. So my kids have a few Jewish friends, and then they're like it's a Lutheran school, and my oldest daughter's teacher actually is a fan of our podcast, so shout out to Ms. Nefjes. And but because I know that, I know where she stands. I don't know where every teacher stands on their political aspect, but I do have enough like faith and trust in who the school is. The school knows where we stand on a lot of things, and there's a lot of people in the school who feel the same way that we do. Actually, I think a Newsmax producer's child is in the school, and so there's a few key people who are in the school, and but I watch it like a hawk. I mean, I'm like, what are you learning? Who are you talking about? What are you talking about this? What are you learning about this? You're like, okay, what do they talk about this? And like, I'm very involved. So even though my kids are there, like I pick them up. They don't go to like, and I'm not saying like that's great or anything, but like the point is like we have to be like involved. We don't just like send them off and say bye, have a good day.
Yeah.
Like never.
Well, if you do that, what's going to happen is little Jennifer is going to come home
Exactly.
one day and be like, I'm Joseph.
I'm
now."
Joseph. Exactly.
You know
and
what
if
I
you
mean?
don't
Like-
my friend had to pull her daughter out of Bach
Yeah,
because
really?
mhm,
Really?
mhm, mhm.
Wow.
I won't name any names, but she, her daughter was in 6th grade at Bach, and she started the school year this last year, her new semester, so January, with a teacher who was, on the, that persuasion. And I know, we're not on YouTube, right? Oh, we will be later. So I don't want to get us kicked off YouTube by getting too involved in too many of the words. We all know what words I'm talking about.
It's all right.
And she was like, okay, let's see what happens. Like, we'll see what happens. Within like a couple weeks, she was looking in her daughter's backpack and finding notes that her daughter was writing about how she wanted to be called this name and be like,
Seriously.
like straight up. She was like, it was like straight up down the line of like how they do this. And so she, within like a week, she told her daughter, she's like, you need to say goodbye to your friends. Say goodbye. We're out of the school. Pulled her out, put her
Wow.
in. And the daughter's so much happier, back to being completely normal self. Like everything's out. And like, so she was like, so she sends her kids to public school, but she's like on it, like white on rice, watching
Yeah.
what's going on with her children to make sure that
Good.
none of that is coming in. And when it does, she took the steps necessary to get her out. And
good.
that's what we have to do. Like I'm always explaining to my mom and dad. My parents were very aware of the world too, because they homeschooled us. And so they were like, we're not sending you to this. Like no. And, but even still, like I talk to my parents now, I'm like, we're raising our kids in a world that you guys didn't have raise us in
Yep.
because of the internet, because of just how accepting things are. And just, it's so different. We have to be like, we're like hyper vigilant. We're always, they can't watch this show. They can't watch this show. They can't watch this show, which again, that's how I was raised. That's why we were talking earlier about me being sheltered, but it's even more now. Like even little things. My son was watching, oh my gosh, what show was it? And they said something about it's the pronoun war or whatever. Like just subtle, like
Yes.
they weren't even talking about, I mean, they could have been talking about actual pronouns, like
Sure.
the real usage of pronouns, but because
But
it's
because they made the little joke, it's like, and you know what they were
Yep.
referring to.
exactly.
It's-
So that's like got on the no list. Nope. And so we're, it's just crazy anyway. I didn't mean to get on too much of a
No, but
rant on
yeah,
that, but
I mean, you were asking about the school board, and
Yeah.
that's the reason why I think it's important.
yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
it's just gone overboard. It's too much, and I think that people in general, and I don't even know how much of it. I think that a lot of Democrats feel the same way
They
too.
do.
I think that they're just like,
They're
you
like, wait a
know,
minute, this is not what we signed up
this
for.
is overdone. This is ridiculous. I'm not doing this anymore. And they want somebody to pull in the reins.
Yeah,
So,
they do.
And I think that teachers want somebody to pull in the reins too. Like they
Yeah.
get frustrated. I know, we know a lot of teachers that are like, it's hard to buff up against the school system and what they're, what the other teachers are doing and everything else. It's again wanting to be, part of that. Am I doing the right thing,
Yeah.
type of thing. And also at the same time, like our kids are so impressionable, it's so sad that we've come to this point in our lives where it's like, it's no longer about reading and writing and learning and making sure they have critical thinking skills and that can, like balance a checkbook and pay their taxes. Like we don't teach those basic life skills that everybody needs to know. And instead we're focusing on, pronouns and, making sure that this, special program gets funded and so on and so forth. It's crazy. Never thought we'd be in this, particular. And I grew up like a latchkey kid. Like my parents were never around. I'm like, I'm shocked I'm alive.
You're Gen X, right?
Yeah.
Me too.
You too?
and it was kind of like that too.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing when I think about just like I would just kind of wander around to the store. I remember being 8 years old and I would like go to the store or whatever.
Yeah.
By myself, I'd walk to the store.
That's
I mean, it
also very
sounds
much a city thing
unimaginable.
too. Like
Nobody would have their 8-year-old now walk to the store.
That's
I
true.
mean, you can't, you
No.
can't
Yeah.
do that
No.
now.
Right.
no,
You know,
that's
but
true.
we did that, and
Yeah.
my parents came home at whatever time.
You're
Yeah.
That's
Well,
crazy.
We used to be out from, at least during the summer, you'd leave the house at 8 o'clock and you come back when the street lights came on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know, you
Yeah.
might show up at home once or twice during the day, but when I was growing up, I was out all the time,
That's
Yeah.
crazy.
playing. We were just out.
My closest friend was about 2 miles away. So, I lived in a very rural area. So I was literally by myself. My sister was 6 years older than me. My dad was a truck driver and my mom worked second shift. So I literally raised myself from the time I was like 10.
wow.
That's crazy.
But that was
But
normal.
that was
then.
normal.
It was normal.
And you
It
know
was
what?
normal.
There's something
With my
to be
frozen
said.
pizzas and cable and
You
soap
turned
operas.
out okay.
Yeah. God knows what we picked up off the ground and ate and whatever. Nobody knew.
Exactly.
It made us very tough and
Right,
resilient.
that's what I'm saying. Like
exactly.
Gen X is built different. I'm a millennial, but I'm like an older millennial.
Yeah.
So like I remember like landlines and before we had computers and
Yeah.
we didn't go out on the bike riding mostly because in the summer because it was 1,000 degrees outside. Nobody was outside in the summer unless you were in the pool, and that's
Yeah.
where we'd spend all day every day. in the
Right.
pool. But because I grew up down here, but yeah, I mean, my older siblings were are Gen Xers.
Yeah, we never
so.
worried about bullying though,
Mm-mm.
or people's feelings or any of this nonsense.
Nonsense
About,
crap.
We didn't grow up like this, and it's
Yeah.
like if somebody told on you, they were a rat.
Do you think? So here's a question: do you think that Gen X overcorrected with
Yes.
because you guys are like Gen Z?
Yes.
Like I mean, there's blurry
Yeah.
lines here and there, but like Gen Z or
Yes.
Gen Xers kids. Okay, I'll stop asking. Overcorrected. Because I've had this conversation with someone else who's a Gen Xer also, and they were like,
Well,
because the
it-
technology came in and nobody
Yeah.
knew how to manage it. Like,
Well, it's natural for us to give our children what we didn't
have.
have.
Yeah.
Because we think that that's going to make them be better adults
Yeah.
than what we were. Like, okay, this is where I fall short, and if I would have had more guidance and love from my parents, maybe I would have turned out a little bit different. So then we overcompensate and become like that helicopter parent or that like
Asking them how they feel about things, and
Yeah,
their
yeah.
opinions. Oh my god, we've ruined everything.
oh my gosh, I know. I tell my kids too. Mine weigh in with their opinions, and I'm like, I didn't ask you.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm sorry.
You're like, you're
Some-
the kid, I'm the mom.
Oh,
Say-
all the
yeah.
time, all the time. I mean, like sometimes
Good
I
to
do.
know the
I'm like,
pendulum's swinging back
it's coming.
with the
I'm trying
millennials.
to create balance. So I do ask them sometimes, especially if I don't feel like cooking dinner. I'm like, what do you guys want for dinner? Like I'll let them weigh in. But sometimes they're like, what are you having for dinner? This is what we're having. And I don't
Yep.
really care if you complain about it.
Yeah.
It is what it is. So I try to find the balance because I'm, like I said, older millennial and my parents are boomers. But again, I was raised really differently than most people. So it doesn't
If your kids don't want to eat their food, do you tell them, they're starving kids and whatever? I mean, you remember this one? No, they're starving
kids
children
in
in
Africa.
China. That was the
Africa,
big thing.
yep.
China and Africa,
Yep.
whatever. I remember telling my parents, I was like, you know what? I'd get out an envelope, start shoving the vegetables in the
That was
envelope.
how my mom would say that to me.
Them. Give it to them. That's fine.
My mom would say that to me, and I'd be like, "This doesn't make any sense. We're not going to give it to them." Like I was the same way. Yeah, no. I don't tell my kids that. I give them a portion of food, and I say, if you want to eat it, eat it. If not, that's all you're getting for the night. So because we
hardcore.
This is what you want. If you don't like it, that's too bad. So yeah, because I don't. The thing is like, again, we have to, there's parenting blogs and parenting books and all the parenting things and all the things. Yeah. Then you feel guilty. You're like, am I doing this right all the time? And so if they say that if you give them the food and you say, this is your food, like a normal child-sized portion of food, and let them have control over whether or not they eat it, it helps better. Like it's better for like them to understand like how they feel full and stop eating when they're full or whatever down the road with better eating habits.
So you never told your kids that you're going to sit there until that's gone?
No.
Oh, okay. That was a big.
That was a big one. My parents would do too. Used to sit at the table until all the food is gone. And I hated that as a kid because I was like, you gave me this. You didn't ask me how much I wanted to eat. I was a skinny kid. I didn't eat a ton, and I was like, I'm full. Like I don't want to eat anymore, and so it drove me nuts. I hated that when I was a kid. So I don't do that. No.
I remember I tried to get slick once. Did
you tuck it under the table?
I had a pear. It was cut up, and I like pears now, but I just guess I didn't. And I remember my parents were in the other room, and I went to the window and I threw the pears out the window, and all of a sudden, I grew up in a doorman building, and all of a sudden, guy looks up, and I'm like. And I go, and then I hear the intercom thing running. I'm like, oh God! They found out exactly what I had done. I hit the doorman in the head.
Gosh, that's so funny.
Slices.
Did you get in trouble?
Hat and everything. I had one of those hats. Yeah, they were not happy with me.
Not happy. Did you ever tuck it underneath the plate? I did. I would do that. My brother would do that. He would try to tuck it underneath the plate, and then when they'd lift up the plate, be like, "I'm done." They were like, "Oh." How did you hide your food, ladies and gentlemen? We'd love to hear your story. Drop us a rumble rant and give us some stories.
My brother used to hide the peas in his cheek,
and then go spit them out.
Spit them out after the food.
And that worked.
Genius. Oh my gosh.
I like it.
Okay, so anyway, back to politics.
That's great.
Question.
Sure.
Going back to your growing up, you said you grew up Jewish. Did you grow up religious, not religious? Like, where'd you fall on that spectrum?
Like, so religious. I'm Catholic. Just kidding. I'm not. I'm not. But no, I grew up. It was I'm an only child. Mm-hmm. And it was not a religious household, and I would say the thing you probably heard a lot culturally, Jewish. Mm-hmm. Absolutely consider myself Jewish, and it was important in my household, but it wasn't a religious thing. Mm-hmm. It just wasn't.
It was just part of identity, but not necessarily practice. Okay, that's interesting.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Shoot, I had another question. So you said when you went to NYU, what'd you study?
I studied psychology.
Oh, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
Did you get a degree in psychology?
I did. I got my degree in psychology.
Did you ever
never practiced as a psychologist. I think it
helps you in politics.
Yeah. I think
sure.
It's helped me throughout my life for sure. I mean, I've always been interested in people, in different ways. And, I studied sociology too, so groups and how they work. So it's always been an interesting thing to me. Politics is kind of an extension of that.
Yeah.
See the way people operate.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I'm an armchair psychologist for sure.
Yeah.
Like I grew up, my parents worked with people all the time. And so I mentally diagnose people all the time.
There you go.
You just watch people and pick up on how what makes people tick. It's very fascinating.
Yeah. I was interested in writing though back then too.
Really?
So it's doing what I do now, it makes me realize that I probably should have done that sooner. That was probably more along the path of where I should have gone. But, never too late. So
here you are. Listen, I love
now
that.
you come with all of that experience and that life experience.
Exactly.
It makes you a better writer, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right. And so then when I write about things like, RFK Jr. and the worm in the brain, it's like I needed to live all this time to be able to have an opinion about that.
Oh my gosh, that one was fun. I saw that. That was crazy. I was looking at that. Have you always been conservative?
Yes. I was. I grew up. This is. You hear this a lot from people in New York. we were Democrats, but none of us were Democrats. And it's funny. I see, like, in my dad, like, when I look through my dad's stuff, he had all sorts of stuff from, like, you know, the Reagan era and, like, all this stuff, because that's where his donations and stuff were going, even though we were
Registered
Democrats.
That's so funny.
Well, you know, you didn't have a shot. It's kind of like the way Palm Beach County
Yeah.
used to be. Like, if you ever wanted to, you know, have a shot at getting anyone you wanted, like, you know, in a primary, that kind of thing, that was like your best shot at that time. It is, I think, probably still is.
Probably. Well,
You
it's
know,
probably
in a
even
way.
more in New York.
Yeah, I mean, you know, even like in that last few years that I was there, it's so strange. Before I came to Florida, you felt like being a Republican or being conservative in any way, you were like in the closet about it. You did not. These were not because people were so sure that you weren't. Everybody.
Oh,
really
everyone
thought the
assumes
same
they're
way.
just, again, going back to the sociological like thought process
So
that people
sure you're not.
assume that you.
Yeah.
I mean, I get that here all the time, especially when I go to, like, when I was working for Commissioner Woodward, I'd go to like all these community meetings and stuff, which are all full of Democrats, and people would sit at the table knowing that I worked for a Republican commissioner and still talk to me like I was one of them.
Yeah, they just
and I was
assume.
like, do you not know who I work for? Like, I don't think you want to be talking to me
don't
about
think
gun
the same.
control. I
don't
like guns. That's
Yeah.
okay. Like,
Yeah.
I don't think you need to.
So anyway,
But
I
that's
mean,
what it was. That,
yeah,
no,
that's
totally.
like-
but that's exactly
Yeah.
what you went through with that. That's exactly what it was kind of like.
so you just like
Oh,
rolled
such
with
a
it.
relief. Well, you had to.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's kind of like you would have been, you know, it's not that you would go with what other people were saying, but you were just kind of quieter about your own stuff.
Do you have any friends or anyone from that, like, or neighbors from that area that have crossed over in the last couple of years, or like where are a lot of the people that you were friends with?
So I have one of the friends that I had that was one of my closest ones growing up was like super liberal, and lives in California now. She has for many years, but maybe 5-6 years ago, pendulum went in the other direction. She's a total Republican. It's just very funny
That's
to see
so
it.
crazy.
It
What
is
was the
so
catalyst?
funny.
Do you know?
I think she just got sick of what it was like where she was and the crime and her neighbor, you know, like things that happen to people, and also it's a combination of that. And I think sometimes just getting older does it too.
Right. Well,
know?
what do they say? They say if you're a Republican, you're a Republican when you're young, you have no heart, and if you're a Democrat when you're older, you have no brains.
Yeah.
Pretty sure is the saying.
Yeah, that
Someone-
is the saying.
That's right. Right.
Yeah,
so
that's the
you know,
saying. So,
I know.
you
Apparently,
know.
I never had any heart because I've been a Republican my whole life.
There you go.
So
There you go.
yeah, no, my dad actually can name every presidential race, both the primary and the candidate, going back to like 1950.
Wow.
My dad's was door knocking at 6 years old in his building
That's
in Manhattan.
amazing.
Yes, he's been
That's
involved in
amazing.
politics his
And I'll
whole
tell
life.
you that some of my other friends that I grew up with, they will not. They don't like what's going on. It's very interesting. Like they'll talk about how they don't like the migrants and going into the schools with their kids, that they feel like that they're having like a rough time, that they, you know, that the overcrowding of the thing. They have a ton of complaints, but would they? Well, so you're going to vote Republican this time, or are you going to change parties? And they're like, absolutely not. Like they don't make the
connection that A plus B equals C. You need to go back to algebra.
Yeah. Yeah.
I did
And
not do
also-
great
I
in,
also
but
had friends that literally did not leave their apartments.
well, that was
for,
going to be my
like-
next question. When it came to COVID, did that
They
like
went on their terraces. That was outside.
for like
curbside
months,
delivery.
right?
9-10 months. There were people who never left.
How
Their
that breaks your
homes.
brain. That breaks you. That's insane.
I
will
wouldn't have been
say-
able to survive.
Yeah.
No,
like- So like during COVID, I sheltered myself just because I didn't want to deal with the bull, and I couldn't wear a mask because of body trauma, which I didn't realize until COVID, which was a whole nother issue. But you know, so it was like, but it was really hard for me to like get out. Like it was like, you know, Stu would be like, let's go out to dinner. And I'm like, no, let's just stay home. You know, like it really messed with me psychologically without even realizing I was choosing, even when it was okay to go out, I was still choosing to stay in. And it's like, it really messes with people. And then
That's
it's like,
crazy.
there's this constant fear of like, I'm going to kill grandma or whatever
Yeah,
from
I was
the outside.
never worried about that.
I was never personally worried about that.
No, I was
but-
like, let me out. I want out
Yeah.
now. I'm
but
going to go
I
to
did,
the park.
but I
Oh,
did
I
use
didn't.
it to my benefit as much as I could, where I could, because I would call ahead if I needed to go somewhere and be like, yeah, I need to come in for a service or whatever. I went to the DMV, I'm like, I can't wear a mask and my driver's license is going to expire. They're like, oh, just stand over there. And then I got priority, like I got to skip the line. I was like, all right, this works for me this time.
I actually called ahead one time to Nordstrom Rack because I had to take my daughter shopping. And I was like, I'm coming in. We don't wear masks. We're not wearing masks, but I need to buy her shoes for school. So I need to come. I'm coming shopping, and I just want to make sure we're not going to be harassed. And they were like, oh. They like didn't know what to do. And they were like, no, I guess not. And I'm like, okay, good. I expect to not be bothered because I'm going to be with my 5-year-old daughter, and I don't want any issues.
Yeah.
So, because like I didn't care if I was out by myself and someone harassed me, which definitely happened. But if I was like, we did have one lady accost us at Costco, in front of our kids, screaming and cursing at us. Because we weren't wearing masks. It was crazy. Then we got kicked ass to leave the store. Wow, Costco was traumatizing. It took me 6 months after they lifted the mask mandates to not feel like super, super anxious when I would pull up at Costco because so many crazy things happened at Costco.
Well, I think we were lucky we had a pool at the time.
Yeah.
Because we could go in the pool, we could do that.
Get
we
out.
Could be outside. Be in the pool
Ugh.
or whatever, and didn't have to,
My Instacart deliveries and Uber Eats.
No. So back to New York.
We do have a couple comments, so I just want to read these.
Yeah.
So local AF says under enrollment is likely why millennials not having children in addition to school choice. So those statistics did come out recently that it was like we're
the first generation that's not replacing ourselves.
Yep. Wow. And then he also says that it's a vendor play. They get on boards and funnel money to their vendor donors.
Interesting.
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Interesting.
And then we have Dee Swaffer that says that they need to end the federal Department of Education and talking about the superintendent that he resigned after 6 months due to health.
In Broward County.
Yeah. And then we also have Baba B saying RFK Jr., tapeworms, tuna, or Trump, how do you, ta-ta, or toodaloo.
Yeah.
Baba, I love you, Baba.
Thanks for your comments. Don't forget to put in your Rumble rants. And we are now live on YouTube.
Welcome, YouTube. Yay! Where's our yay? Where's our yay, Stu? We need a yay. Thank you.
It only took us an hour, but we got it.
We're here. Hi, welcome on YouTube. If you're just joining us, welcome to We the Locals podcast on YouTube. Tracy Caruso is our guest here tonight.
Hi,
Abby couldn't join us, so Tracy's here hanging out with us, just chatting.
Having fun.
Yes. And we will load the full video on YouTube when
so
we
if
get
you
an
missed that first hour, definitely check back tomorrow. We'll have the full episode up. I had another question, but I don't remember what it is.
Asking something about New York. That was where you were at.
Oh, yes. So have you had anyone from New York who kind of was like, I'm out, like, and come down here or leave, like anybody you know?
Yeah. But I also have some. I have some that have, but I have some that are like they're just kind of hanging on. It's kind of like when people join a fraternity and they get hazed and their lives are miserable, but they're like now so attached. It's like
they're like, I already put in all this work. I might as well
stay. They made me drink that bleach and and it held me down. And they're like traumatized. They're like, I want to do this because they did it.
Right.
They've already done all. Yeah, that's a good analogy.
That's what I think. That's what I feel like it's like. It's like. We're here, and it's still the best thing in the world, no matter what happens.
Right.
Yeah. No matter how terrible it is, this is the best.
Oh my gosh, my dad's going next week. My cousin's graduating from Fordham Law School. So my dad's going next week, and I'm like, careful, Dad. I'm a little nervous. It's a little crazy up there.
You're like, let's hope nobody punches you in the face.
Yeah.
Remember that? With like the women walking around.
Well, I just saw this video of this guy who took a belt and caught a woman over the neck, pulled her down, and pulled her between two cars. And I don't know what happened after that because it went out of the camera view.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm a little nervous, not going to lie. I'm going to be very glad when he's home. But he wanted to go to my cousin's graduation, so he's going up there. He's from the upper west side, actually. I think I said yes, upper. No, he's from the upper west. But my uncle lives down by the Flatiron in the garment what is that? The garment district down there. So he's lived there for. My uncle looks like Howard Stern. So, like, straight up Howard Stern.
It's funny.
Yeah, it's very funny. He dyed his hair blue so that he wouldn't be mistaken for Howard Stern all the time. Like,
looks that much like Howard Stern.
He does, really. I've seen a picture.
I might have to show you a picture.
That's
but
amazing.
Yeah, it's a little crazy. And
do they still like New York?
Who? My cousin.
So you're
So we're the only
the
conservative.
Flatiron one. Who,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's obsessed with New York. I mean,
Yeah.
he's 82.
Yeah, and
And-
he probably just thinks, I'm telling you, they gaslight people
Yep.
into this. It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it's the best.
It's the best. He was born and raised there. Never
That's
leaving.
what I used to
Yeah.
think. That's what people think.
Yeah.
Mhm.
You know, then you move and you're like, oh my God, I
There's
don't
a
have
whole
to
Life is
different
so
world.
much
I don't have to live in this like closet and like that's
Well,
what, you know?
he's uber liberal. So my dad and him look a lot alike. They're 7 years apart, and they look a lot alike. But he is the most polar opposite as far as like
That's
faith,
funny.
religion, politics. Like they're like night and day. So
Really?
my uncle is all
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 the things.
all the things.
He's all
but
the
I'm gonna be
things.
very curious. My dad's I think that's one reason he wants to go is to talk to all of his cousins and stuff about all of the things happening in the universities with the Israel stuff because they're all very like pro-Israel,
Yeah,
but they're Jewish Democrats.
yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
it's gonna be very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So have
Very
you had any conversations with any of your Jewish friends or anything about that?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
all the
So it's you know, it's interesting because I feel like identical to Howard Stern. That's
that's my uncle.
crazy.
You've seen this one, right?
That's
No-
crazy.
holy
I
cow.
mean,
Yeah.
I
I know.
would absolutely think that's Howard Stern.
I know.
That's
I'll
unbelievable.
have to drop it in one of the chats. No, that's my uncle.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah. So I mean, there's an
Yeah.
older picture of him, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
But as for about Jewish Democrats,
yeah.
here's what I think is very interesting. So you know they're horrified by what's going on, and they can't believe it, and they're so upset. But they're like, I'm not going to vote for Trump.
But
That's just and there's just
it's like it's TDS.
well, it is.
It's TDS to the
and they
nth
just,
degree.
They just can't. It's like they can't do it.
They can't bring themselves.
Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah.
It's
a
like
lot of
they're
them will say that they just won't vote.
Which is fine by me.
I'll
we'll
take
take
that.
that.
One, but that's what a lot of them are saying too. They're like, I can't do it, so I just won't.
The concern is then will their ballot get harvested? Will their ballot, like if they're like in New York or if they're not voting, will their vote by mail still get counted somehow?
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Dun, dun.
Well,
That's what I was gonna say.
Dun, dun, dun. I mean, if they're counting, they're voting dead people. They'll vote the live people if they're
There you
not
go.
voting.
Right. Well, there was a lady that came out there was this whole article that came out not that long ago, just a couple days ago, that this woman got printed off 65,000
Yeah.
ballots.
What?
And then had different people in the clerk's office fill them out.
Where?
And they was it Wisconsin?
Was it Wisconsin?
Did
I'm
we-
trying to think. It was something. I can't remember where. I believe it might have been Wisconsin, but she worked in the
The clerk's
in the-
office.
The clerk's. It was
Crazy.
Wisconsin, and she worked in the clerk's office, and she printed off all these ballots and had people fill them out, and then they turned them in.
I don't know why I'm
And-
shocked.
And she got an email
I
that
know.
night.
I don't know why I'm
she
shocked
got,
either.
She
But
got,
I am.
she got an email like that in the middle of the night saying, "Wow, you really pulled that off."
Yeah, there was email evidence of exactly.
Did she get
what
arrested?
I think it's
believe
going through the
now
process.
it's going through the
Holy
Through the legal
moly.
process.
That's so
But this is
scary.
what they did is that
Yeah.
I heard somewhere I was at an event today and they talked about how the mail-in ballots is that if they were returned to sender
Okay.
is what they did is they took them and they filled them out and
Voted them.
voted them in the supervisor of elections offices around the country.
Which is one
So-
reason why you need to, if you do request your vote by mail, make sure you get it and then hold on to it and you secure your ballot.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, I think this is the whole reason why it enforces the fact that we need to request that
Yeah.
vote by mail ballot. Because for one, if we don't get it, red flag, right? If we do get it and we go to vote in person and they say we've already voted and we have it in our hand, red flag. And then also as long as we have it, nobody else can steal it, right? So I think it just proves the point that since it is legal, especially here in Florida, to be able to request a vote by mail ballot, well, here you can also track it, which kind of helps in a lot of states that they don't have that. So it's the minute that it gets printed, it gets sent out to you and it's on the track. So it will say mail, so it's if you go to the SOE office, it says, you put in your information. Once the ballot is printed, I think it gives you a timestamp and it says the timestamp of when it was mailed out.
Yeah.
So then you can actually track
And
it.
make sure.
Right. So because it was in 2020, I requested a vote by mail ballot, and neither one of them showed up. I ended up having to vote in person. Now, nobody voted for me, but what happened to my ballot?
That's crazy.
You know?
And two, that was when I believe Jessica you were a Republican, but I got mine like right away. But mine was an MPA
Oh.
for the general.
Right.
Don't. We got lots of don't moments
Yeah.
tonight.
Right.
That's right.
Yeah. I'm like, he got his ballot.
I think I requested it and I got it within 2 days.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
so it's
lesson,
crazy.
moral of the story, request your vote by mail ballot and
Yes.
secure your vote.
Yes.
And
Yes.
And I think you're going to see, especially around Palm Beach County, is that there's going to be a lot of effort between your candidates and the REC of asking people to request their vote by mail ballots for this exact reason, and to make sure that you're in the driver's seats of it. And also, it's like, and I know a lot of people are against the whole vote by mail thing.
us included.
Included.
Not
but
a fan.
Since it's legal,
here.
like, we have to figure this out. And it's a perfect opportunity for low and medium propensity voters to vote. So it's like you have the ones that are like, drive an hour back and forth to work every day. Like, if you want to vote on election day, what if you get stuck in traffic? What if your boss asks you to stay late? What if you're sick? Things of that.
What if there's a hurricane?
What if there's a hurricane? Between traffic and weather in Florida, request your vote by mail
This is reason enough alone.
Exactly.
Or vote early. I mean, or request
Right.
your vote by mail, but then vote early. I usually request mine and then I take it with me
Yeah,
when I
you
go to
take
vote
it in.
early.
Right.
Mhm.
And then your high propensity voters should be the ones that are voting early and then getting other people's out to the polls and getting them to
To
request
party at the
polls.
polls.
I love party at the polls.
Party at
It's
the
so
polls.
fun. We have such a good time.
Okay, so real quick, before we get too far in, I want to bring up one local issue to advise y'all of, to keep an eye out on. So if you guys remember, in 22, we voted I personally did not vote, but we, the voters, voted to approve a $200 million housing bond to go towards affordable housing. So now the county is working through some proposed projects to spend the money. And today's Thursday. So Tuesday, at the county commission, some projects were brought forward. The concern that was brought up, and one reason that some of the projects did not move forward, is the idea behind the housing bond was for it to be gap financing for projects that just needed a little bit more financing in order to get to the end. So, 10%, 15%, maybe 20%, not to finance like a huge portion of the project. And some of the projects that were coming in were about 40%. We're asking for 40 to 50% of the financing from the county. And I'm giving you just a very high level,
Sure.
It's very complicated numbers, but this is the best I can do. The issue that was brought forward was both the percentage that the county would be covering, and then also how much the affordable housing would actually cost in dollar amounts, because the county has to go by the AMI, which is decided by state and federal processes, which is the average median income for the county. So Palm Beach County's average median income is, I believe, $109,000 a year, because we are a very wealthy county. We're one of the wealthiest counties. But we all know that that's pockets of the county. There are pockets of this county where that is not even close. I mean, that's more than double what the probably median income is. But it doesn't change for anywhere in the county. That's it. So basically, the for a 3-bedroom apartment under this would be $3,500 a month. So, which is market value, really. So it's not really giving affordability to anybody.
No.
So that's one thing. So that was addressed on Tuesday. So were able to. So the county has no ability to change what AMI is and how it's measured, but they can change how much of a percentage that they can approve for financing. So they started moving the ball on that percentage a little bit to help bring the amount down to make it more affordable. And they also are basically telling developers that if you're coming to us with a 40% ask, we're not going to give it to you. You need to get other money coming in, and we'll help you with the gap there, the down. So 4 projects moved forward. They're not approved yet, but they're moving forward to the next step in the process. 2 are two are about at 8 or 9% that they're asking for the gap financing, and 2 they're not really sure if they're going to move forward with it. They didn't have the percentages worked out yet, so they're going to be coming back with that. And so they're looking at about 400 units at about $40,000 a unit. Before, when they were looking at the whole overall, the ones that were at 40-50%, they were going to cost the county $200,000 per unit. Yeah.
Wow.
So that is what is going on, just so you all are aware how our money is being spent, which means that of the $200 million, if that went with the higher percentage of what the developers were asking for, we would have got about 1,500 homes. That's it. Whereas the bond was passed to us and promised to us that it was going to be like thousands of homes.
Sure.
And so 1,500 homes for $200 million is not a good use of our dollars.
Nope.
So they were able to, they brought up a lot of questions. The commissioners brought up a lot of questions, and were able to basically put to staff to make sure that they are bringing them projects that fit within this parameter a little bit more. So there's another vote in June. So if you're interested to see how the $200 million is going to be spent, definitely keep an eye on that. Watch it in June. Call your commissioner if you have an opinion. The clips and stuff from Tuesday are available on YouTube if you want to go back to Palm Beach County's YouTube channel and watch the
Channel 20.
Thank you, Channel 20, and watch the meeting and see if you can understand it. That's the best I could do. I got a breakdown from one of the commissioners, Commissioner Woodward, and I was like, okay, let me see if I can explain this without sounding too nerdy, as well as like where we can all understand it, because it's very, and this is local stuff. Is how our money is being spent. We voted as a people to spend the money, and we want to make sure that it's being spent wisely.
Absolutely.
So that's a thing.
Well, it's. I mean, thankfully, rents are starting to cool, because it's like we're going into summertime and things of that nature. So they are starting to stabilize a little bit, but they're not going to go down. Mm-mm. And so, like, this is a good step in the right direction. But, we sold our house, 4 years ago now? Mm-hmm. Wish I wouldn't have done that. I wish I would have waited a little bit, but that's all right. But for us that rent, and especially in Boca, like, it's really hard to be able to find things that are like affordable. Our neighbors, some friends of ours are they rent it's technically it's listed as a 2-bedroom, I believe 1-bath duplex, and then the landlord is converting like the garage into a 3rd bedroom to make like a legal 3rd bedroom for when they move, because they're moving, they need more space. So I just looked the other day to see if he had posted it, to see what he's posting it at. So it's a duplex. It's probably around 1,200 square feet, and it's posted for $3,400 in Boca.
Wow. And
it's not even in Addison Meisner. It's not in Addison Meisner school districts and J.C. Mitchell school districts. It's not even in like the best school. Right. It's in the other one. And it's crazy. And that's so now for them to say that affordable bathroom. I believe it's 1 bathroom. It might be 2. It might be 2 bathrooms. Still. I'm not 100% sure. But still, either way. I mean, and it's a duplex. It's not even like there's no amenities, and so now they're saying $3,500 is affordable housing according to what the developers were trying to get from the county. In 2020 we had was it 4-bedroom? I think it was a 4-bedroom, 2-bath with a pool, full yard. I don't even think we paid $3,000 for it a month.
That was before 2020.
Yeah, before 2020.
It was
the good old days.
Yeah.
I mean, we bought our house. Yeah. We bought our house in Boca in May of 2021, and it was the last house in our price range like that sold in Boca. After that, everything went sky
just
high.
In time.
Lucky. Just in time. And we had to put new air conditioning, new ducts, new roof. It needs updating. It needed a lot of stuff, but it was it was like after that there was nothing. We started looking to see, just keep an eye out what's out there, and gosh, it's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, with 1,000 people a day still moving here, I'll be curious to see what 2024 brings. See if anybody's left. That's what I want to know.
Still in Palm Beach County, it's 1,000, or just in the state it's 1,000?
I think it's it's been it's the state was 1,000 a day. I think Palm Beach County's cooling a little bit. People are leaving Palm Beach County. Some people are.
A lot of people are coming to Palm Beach County because of our wonderful services that we provide to those that are less than.
Yes. However, there are people who are leaving Palm Beach County to go to Stewart.
Yep. Stewart.
Right.
Martin
They are.
County.
They go to Martin County.
Hope
Stewart,
Sound. Our neighbor sold her house that she
Yep.
lived in for 30 years to move to Hope Sound.
Stewart,
Really?
Port St. Lucie. that
Well, I
area.
I
think with
saw
all
a
the-
house. Sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, with all of like the condo assessments and things of that nature, like people can actually like sell their homes here in Palm Beach County, make a little money, go to Martin County or, anher.
Indian River County.
Yeah, and pay less.
And still
And-
have the Florida lifestyle.
Right, exactly. Because it's like we've looked at houses in Palm Coast, like
Right.
when we've looked
Where's
at
that?
it's
It's
just south
almost
of St. Augustine.
St. Augustine.
Oh,
between
yeah, we were just up
Daytona-
there.
Really nice.
Daytona
We
and
just
St.
drove. We were
Augustine.
just
Yeah.
up, and my brother just bought a house. They moved from Richmond. They were like getting the heck out of Dodge in Richmond, and they are in St. John's.
Yeah, so-
near between Jacksonville and St. Augustine.
Palm Coast kind of reminds us a little bit more of that rural Michigan feel that we're from. Felt very, very homey. So we've thinking of like maybe possibly retiring there or whatever. So
Retiring.
I keep an eye on the I keep an eye on the market or whatever, and it's like a 4-bedroom, 2-bath house with a lawn, no HOA is like $300,000.
I saw a house on Instagram that was like a 5-bedroom,
I'm like,
4-bath, huge house, and I was like, with a big yard, and it's
Oh
all
my
updated
gosh.
and brand new. I
I
can't
only
remember, but it
work
was
at-
like
I only
very
work in the
affordable.
office.
I was like, oh.
I only work in the office 2 days a week, so it's very tempting to be like, let them go there. I only have to drive 2.5 hours, if I need to go to the office or come to a podcast, or whatever. But then
You can't move up there and then live here and talk about politics
I'd be
here.
totally out of it. I'd be,
Right.
I'd be blasted. I'd be one of the.
We
I'd
would
be a-
shun.
I'd be another carpetbagger, but it'd be totally different aspects.
The
the
opposite of a carpetbagger. Oh my gosh.
We have a comment
Love
from
it.
Sassy Gail. She says,
Sassy
hi, ladies. Hi, Janine. How are you?
Hey, Janine.
Yeah, so that's we're all
that's it.
caught up now.
Okay. Oh, we're caught up. Oh, that's
Yeah.
it. Just hi.
Just
hi,
hi.
Janine.
Just hi. Wanted to give her a shout out. She pushes our podcast everywhere, so we're thankful for
Yes,
Janine and
absolutely.
giving us the shout outs. She's everywhere giving our information. And last night I was at the Colony Hotel. There is an event where Steve Bannon was the keynote speaker, and he was very instrumental in Trump's 2016 election, for those that don't know him. And then he's on Real America's Voice 3 hours a day, and then he's on
By the way, if you have a Roku, you can get that channel.
for
For the record.
and
A lot of people don't know that.
And he's on Lindell TV for 1 hour a day. So 4 hours a day you can be able to listen to
I
him
don't know
and
how to
find
get
out.
that channel.
And he deals with all federal politics. But it was very interesting in this meeting because it was a little higher end type of meeting.
It was in Palm Beach.
It was in the islands. It was on Palm Beach Island.
Right.
And so it was listening to him talk about like the national populist, type of mindset that a lot of people are starting to have, is that it was so interesting to understand the crowd of not really, I don't want to say that they're uneducated, because these are very smart, intelligent people and business people and things of that nature, but they aren't really dialed into like the boots on the ground, grassroots aspects of things. And he really got a lot of people excited about volunteering and getting involved.
That's awesome.
And, they were all asking like, what can we do? How can we help? So that gave, yeah, exactly. So I'm like, if everybody's in this room, I'm like, what, maybe 75 people
Probably,
there?
yeah.
Oh my
last
gosh.
night?
It was
That's a lot of door
It
knockers.
was packed in there.
Yeah, I
last
was
night.
like,
It
if
was full.
all of these people would go out and just knock on 50 doors, like what a difference
Huge difference.
that would make. And I bring that up because I was in another meeting today. I had there was a lunch, and the chairman, I think it was the Federated
Women's Club.
Women's Club, yes. So she was talking about local aspects of elections and vetting candidates. And she even said, she goes, please stop voting for people that you see their sign on the side of the road and you just like the sign.
No, we need that. But we need that. We're using that strategy. Come on.
Just because they have a nice sign doesn't
Because their signs
necessarily
are pretty.
doesn't necessarily
What?
and that's who you should vote for. But to be sure to vet your candidates. So of course I hand her a podcast card. I was like, here you go. Like here's a great way to
Vet
to
the
get the
candidates.
information out. So I really think that there's a strong movement that's coming around of people that are like really starting to pay attention, and that's great. But we need them to volunteer.
Next steps.
Yes, like we need them to get involved, call a campaign. Like if you see a sign and you want to get more information, check out their website. Most all of the candidates have an opportunity, like you can sign up for their website and get more information and say, like, contact me to volunteer, or email them or call them and just be like, hey, I want some more information and I want to be able to help you get the word out.
And I would be hard pressed to believe that there's a candidate out there that would not be willing to sit down and have a cup of coffee with you and answer any one
Exactly.
of your questions. And if they are not willing to do that,
We want to know who they are.
Want to know who they are, and there's your answer right there. They're willing to sit, right? I mean, they're willing to sit
Agreed.
down. Yeah.
So
Like they have to. And so like if you contact their office, say, hey, I would like to ask you my questions and find out about you. And then like do it. I mean, a lot of people, I feel like there's this like aura sometimes around candidates or politicians, especially if they're already elected, that, oh, like, you know, they're not approachable or they're not real people. Like people put them like in this like world over here, and they're not. They're people just like the rest of us.
Mm-hmm.
And you need to talk to them, ask them questions.
Yeah, I think I've said this before, but I was like, if you would have told me in 2019 that I could call my state rep and like ask them a question or have a conversation,
Yeah.
I would have been like, you're crazy. I can't do that. People don't do that.
People don't do that. Yeah.
And I'm
But
like,
they do.
Mike
They
has a
do.
cell phone on everything. I mean,
Yeah.
he's just, you know, and people are always so surprised too. If they call up, they can't believe that it's actually him.
He's actually answering the phone. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
because they just kind of think like it says that, but it's not really.
Is it
Yeah.
really
that.
right? So, and again, if you have a candidate that doesn't answer the phone or doesn't want to meet with you, then that's a red flag. Like there's your answer. But
Yeah.
otherwise, all
and
of
let
them
us
will.
know who it is.
Yeah, and make sure we know that so
So-
that we can hound them.
So in other words, if there's a sign with a beautiful lady on it, you just don't vote for it because it's a beautiful lady on the sign.
Who's
That's
a
the
beautiful?
realtor. That would be the realtor.
Oh, okay, darn.
You're looking at the wrong sign.
Look at the
I
wrong
was gonna
sign.
say, wait, your signs. But you know what?
I didn't have pictures of myself on them.
I've only so I was actually we've discussed this from a campaign from a stance, like, because there are some people who do put their pictures on signs.
Right.
So,
Mostly, from what I've seen, it's people who have kids.
Yep.
Put the pictures, like Andy had all his kids on his signs.
yeah.
And so I'm actually curious. I'd love an audience weigh in. People who are like not, most of our audience is very involved and know all the candidates. But like, if you have ever looked at a sign and chosen to vote for a person based off of whether or not their picture was on the sign, I would love to know, because I'm doing a little market research here right now with that question. So I mean, just curious.
I want to say I've definitely voted off of signs. I don't know if it was necessarily, because they had a picture.
Did you vote off the sign because you liked the sign, or did you vote off the sign because you saw the sign everywhere and the name was in your head?
It's probably more the latter, without even realizing
Yeah.
that that's what it was, is that it sticks with you, because it's like if you see the name, you see the face, you associate the name with the face, and then if they seem likable or whatever, you feel like you're making a good choice based on, a visual representation
Yeah.
of them. Who was it that ran against Sachs in 2020?
That
David
was
Shiner.
David Shiner.
He had
I
the-
voted for him off of his signs.
His sign with his kids.
With his
Yeah,
With his
but-
boys. That was the other one I was thinking of that I've
Oh,
seen
yeah,
do
that's
but
signs
right.
with his
Yeah,
also,
boys.
so-
all of his signs had like black paint. Somebody,
They painted
crossed
out
out
over
his
his
Yeah.
his
signs.
boys' faces.
Yeah.
drew mustaches
Drew
on them
mean
and
things
all
on-
kinds of stuff.
I was going to say, I mean, I'm not happy, proud to admit that I voted for Putnam because in the primary with DeSantis, because I had 2 babies and I had no idea what was going on in the world, and I saw Putnam signs everywhere, and I was like, cool, I'll roll with him. I mean, one Republican's just as good as another Republican, right?
No, they are not equal.
Nah.
I know, I'm highly aware, but
Just so anybody knows.
now I know better. And like I said, I'm not proud to admit it, but putting myself, we have to put that hat on sometimes when we are looking at how to market for a campaign, because not everybody is like lives, eats, breathes, drinks, and sleeps politics like the rest of us. So we have to put that hat on as like, what is the average person? So let me go back to my
the
normal.
average person doesn't even know these seats exist.
Right.
That's true,
Exactly.
but they go vote because you're supposed to vote, and they
Mm-hmm.
vote based off of how. So then, how do they make that decision when they get to the ballot box? If they're that person who's like I was, who was like, I'm gonna go vote because if I didn't vote in an election, I think I would have been disowned. Like,
Yeah.
like
Right.
my parents.
yeah.
My mom has worked for the supervisor of elections office since 1999.
Wow.
She was there during hanging chads and the whole thing.
wow.
Like my parents took us to George Bush rallies, and I've seen Elizabeth Dole and Bob Dole, and like it's how it's so like you vote regardless if you know who you're voting for, you better go vote. So like how many people are like that and just see the signs or
Yeah.
what causes that like when they're in the ballot box to make that decision?
I
Is it
do-
eeny meeny miny mo or the one with the coolest name?
I
don't
do
know.
have a question.
Yeah.
Now, like I noticed
From
that,
East to
no,
oh
as of right now, Mike does not have a
Correct.
an opponent
Uh-huh.
either side. When, at what point, like is that after qualifying that if he doesn't have an opponent, then he's automatically in? Is that when?
Yeah.
Yep.
I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. I just was curious.
I didn't know
'cause
he
I'm
didn't
like,
have an opponent.
Yeah.
No, there's two of them that don't. John Snyder or Mike right now.
Yeah.
Not have- don't
Interesting,
have an opponent.
man.
Those
that
are two
just
strong
shows
seats.
They
So
are.
that just shows you too how like demoralized the Democrats are in Palm
Yeah.
Beach County. Holy
Mhm.
cow!
As they should.
That's right.
Dum, dum, dum.
Dun, dun, dun. I feel like we should title this episode "Dun Dun Dun" with Tracy Caruso.
So Sassy Gail says she's never done that as far as voting for somebody off
Okay.
of a sign. And in fact, the more mailers I get from a candidate, I'm less likely to vote
Yep.
for them, she says. So
Oh, interesting.
that's very
I
interesting.
wonder if that didn't work with Andy.
No.
No.
We got 5 mailers. From
Well,
Andy. Two of them
I
were the
think
same
that was there
The
was
thing
something.
of
Oh,
it is,
really?
because they sent one. Yeah, one was addressed to me, and one was addressed to my husband. I do vote by mail, and my husband votes early. He doesn't have he's not registered for his vote by mail, and so the moment the vote by mail's dropped, I got the flyer addressed to me. The moment that early voting started, he got the flyer addressed to him. The rest of them were addressed to our household. So they specifically targeted people. Like I know how they did their
Got it.
targeting, but I was like, but it's the same mailer. They still should have done something to check that.
And it was quoting the podcast.
Yeah, they quoted us something Brian said on our podcast that they took out of context, but you know,
Yeah.
that's what they do.
And
So.
he went after the new residents
Yep.
because they were less likely to be
Well,
tainted by his previous
By his previous
stint.
campaign, that was whatever. It's over. I'm gonna let it go. Let it go. Let it go.
All right.
I said hello to him at a public event the other day, so I'm letting it go.
Oh, see, you're so good. You're so
Trying
good.
to be so nice.
Tracy, tell us how we can follow you and get more information about what you do.
I would say that the best way right now would be on Florida Jolt. Go to
Yeah.
Awesome.
floridajolt.com. You'll see
Subscribe.
subscribe, and you will see my articles. And
Are you on Twitter or
I
X?
hope that I am.
What's
I
your
am.
handle?
So it is. Gosh, I don't know. I think it's at Jolt Tracy.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. So
Awesome.
make sure
Yes,
you like
you'll
and
find
follow and
me.
subscribe.
Yes.
If you want to really find me, you will. I'm putting it on you.
Real quick before we sign off, I want to say Happy Mother's Day, all the mothers out there on
Aw.
Sunday.
Thank you. That's
So-
true. I forgot that it is Mother's Day.
Yes,
Keep
it's
forgetting.
Mother's Day.
Oh, yeah. Thanks, Stu.
You're welcome.
That's so sweet. Well, I think do you have anything else you want to say to our audience before we wrap up tonight or anything?
Keep on watching. That's what outlets are out here for. So you have We the Locals. It's great. And that's how you're going to learn a lot about what's going on here. And that's what affects your life day to day. So keep
Absolutely.
tuning in and keep paying attention to what's going on. And thank you guys for watching. And thanks for having me.
Yeah,
Thanks for
absolutely. Thank you
being
for
here.
joining us. This has been a lot of fun. So,
Yeah.
I think I'm all good. Our next episode is I don't remember the date. Shoot.
Then-
It's May. No,
Ninth?
This is
No.
May 9th.
This is me.
This is May
May
9th.
23rd, I believe.
May 23rd. Yes,
Is
it's
it
May
23rd or
23rd.
30th?
No, it's the
May
23rd.
23rd.
May
Because
23rd.
we're usually the 1st and 3rd, but we
Yep.
had to switch it for
Yep.
May. So
You're right.
anyway, so yeah, May 23rd. We don't have a guest lined up yet. We might throw in a surprise guest. We'll see. We have some stuff in the works. If you have a guest that you would like to see on the podcast, we are open to recommendations. It is our microphone, so we do reserve the right to say
Nope.
yep
No.
or nope, yep or nope. Currently, we are looking. We are staying at state level on down. So federal candidates.
Sorry. Wah, wah, wah.
Wah, wah, wah. right, that's all I got. Thanks for joining us tonight. Jess, you want to wrap us?
Yeah, thank you for watching for us tonight. Thank you, Tracy, for being our first guest host. We appreciate it.
It was a lot of fun.
Good. We glad that you enjoyed it. We loved hearing from you and learning more about you. Make sure that you follow us on X at We The Locals FL, Facebook's We The Locals. Be sure to check out our website, WeTheLocalsPodcast.com. Be sure to send us an email of any information about the show, how to get our sponsorships, anything of that nature. You can go ahead and send us an email at WeTheLocalsFL@gmail.com. I hope that takes care of everything. Thank you for all of your comments and chats. We will see you next time, and make sure you have a great night and stay local, everybody.
Bye.
And we are